Maybe the real question was never, should I fight for them? Maybe the real question is, why does love always feel like something you have to fight for? Why does calm feel suspicious? Why does consistency feel boring? Why does peace feel like you're about to lose something? Be honest. Are you in love with them, or are you in love with finally being chosen by someone who keeps almost choosing you? Because sometimes we don't stay for love. We stay because walking away would mean admitting we were fighting for a fantasy. And awareness is harder than heartbreak. Tonight, let's not talk about whether they'll change. Let's talk about why this pattern feels familiar. You don't wake up one day and decide to fall for someone emotionally unavailable. It doesn't feel like a conscious choice. It feels magnetic, subtle, almost spiritual. At first, it feels like depth. They're quiet, mysterious, hard to read. You mistake their distance for emotional complexity. Their silence feels meaningful. Their unpredictability feels intense. And intensity can feel like connection. But psychology tells a different story. What you often call chemistry may actually be uncertainty. Behavioral psychology has long studied something called intermittent reinforcement. When affection is given randomly, sometimes warm, sometimes withdrawn, the brain releases stronger bursts of dopamine. It is the same reward pattern that keeps people addicted to slot machines. You don't know when the reward is coming, so you try harder. B.F. Skinner, one of the most influential behavioral psychologists, demonstrated that unpredictable rewards create the strongest behavioral attachment. Not consistent ones, unpredictable ones. So when someone texts you back warmly one day and disappears the next, your nervous system does not relax, it activates. You lean in, you analyze, you wait, and waiting starts to feel like longing. But longing is not always love. Attachment theory gives this pattern more depth. John Bowlby, the founder of attachment theory, wrote, "What cannot be communicated to the mother cannot be communicated to the self." When early emotional needs are inconsistently met, the child learns that connection is uncertain. Love becomes something you must earn, chase, or prove yourself worthy of. And years later, without realizing it, you feel drawn to people who recreate that same emotional rhythm. Not because it is healthy, but because it is familiar. Familiar pain feels safer than unfamiliar peace. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." That pull toward emotionally unavailable partners can feel like destiny, like you just connect with complicated souls. But often, it is repetition. If love once felt unpredictable, then unpredictability feels like love. This is why calm can feel boring. Consistency can feel suspicious. When someone responds clearly, shows steady interest, and communicates openly, it may not trigger fireworks. It may trigger discomfort. Your system is not used to safety. It is used to scanning for signs of withdrawal. You don't feel excited by peace. You feel restless. And so when someone withholds affection slightly, your system lights up. Suddenly you are fully engaged. You are thinking about them constantly. You are decoding their tone. You are replaying conversations. The uncertainty creates hyperfocus. It feels romantic, but biologically, it is activation. The anxious avoidant dynamic explains this further. Mary Ainsworth's research on attachment styles showed that individuals with anxious attachment patterns tend to bond strongly with avoidant partners. The more the avoidant partner distances, the more the anxious partner pursues. The pursuit creates temporary closeness. The closeness relieves anxiety for a moment, then distance returns, and the cycle repeats. Sigmund Freud described something similar with the idea of repetition compulsion, the unconscious tendency to recreate early emotional dynamics in an attempt to master them. You may not just be loving this person, you may be trying to win something that once felt withheld. A text back, a sign of reassurance, a clear statement of commitment. It becomes bigger than the present relationship. It feels like healing something old. But you cannot heal an old wound by reopening it repeatedly. Emotionally unavailable people often do not present themselves as cold in the beginning. They show glimpses, moments of vulnerability, brief depth, just enough warmth to keep hope alive. And hope is powerful. Albert Camus once wrote, "Real generosity toward the future lies in giving all to the present." But when you are attached to someone inconsistent, you are not fully in the present. You're investing in potential, in what they could become if they finally opened up. You tell yourself they are just guarded, just hurt, just scared. And maybe they are, but understanding someone's wounds does not obligate you to bleed with them. There is also an ego component that quietly attaches itself to emotionally unavailable partners. If someone difficult finally chooses you, it feels validating. It feels earned. It feels like proof that you are special enough to unlock what others could not. But love is not a competition. It is not a puzzle to solve. It is not a locked door that requires the right emotional code. The philosopher Alain de Botton once observed that we often seek happiness in love, but what we truly seek is familiarity, even if that familiarity carries traces of pain. The mind prefers known discomfort over unknown ease. So when you feel deeply attached to someone who gives you very little stability, pause. Ask yourself, do I feel calm around them? Or do I feel activated? Do I feel secure? Or do I feel like I'm auditioning? Because love should not feel like an exam you're constantly preparing for. It should not require guessing where you stand. It should not feel like relief every time they show basic interest. If someone's presence makes you anxious more often than peaceful, your body is not bonding to love. It is bonding to uncertainty. And uncertainty can be intoxicating. But intoxication is not intimacy. In this first layer of awareness, do not judge yourself. Attraction is not weakness, it is information. Your patterns are not flaws, they are signals. The goal is not to shame yourself for feeling attached. The goal is to understand why distance feels magnetic. Because once you understand the psychology, the mystery begins to soften. And when the mystery softens, so does the illusion. Sometimes you were never in love with their depth. You were in love with the hope that this time distance would finally turn into devotion. But hope without reciprocity keeps you emotionally suspended. And suspended love is not stable love. It is just longing dressed up as destiny. Sometimes you are not in love with the person. You are in love with who they could become. There is a subtle difference, but it changes everything. When someone is emotionally unavailable, they rarely present themselves as completely closed. If they did, you would leave. Instead, they reveal fragments. A vulnerable story at midnight. A rare confession about their fears. A soft look they quickly hide. Those moments feel intimate. They feel special. You tell yourself, they don't open up to anyone like this. And that belief becomes the glue. Psychologist Robert Firestone described something called fantasy bonding, an imagined sense of connection that replaces genuine intimacy. In fantasy bonding, you attach not to the relationship as it is, but to the relationship as you hope it will be. The bond lives more in imagination than in shared emotional reality. You are not responding to consistent closeness. You are responding to glimpses. And glimpses are powerful because they create hope. Hope keeps you invested. Hope whispers just a little more patience. But patience can slowly turn into self-abandonment. Carl Jung wrote, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls." Sometimes it is easier to focus on fixing someone else than to examine why you are drawn to someone who cannot meet you fully. When you love potential, you become an interpreter. You translate their silence into hidden depth. You translate their withdrawal into fear of intimacy. You translate their inconsistency into emotional complexity. You build explanations that protect the image you have created. This is where projection quietly enters. Projection is not just seeing your flaws in others, it is also placing your unmet desires onto someone else and believing they already carry them. You see the version of them that matches your longing. You fall in love with that version. But that version may not exist outside your imagination. The philosopher Soren Kierkegaard once wrote, "Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards." In the present, hope can feel noble. it can feel loyal. But looking back, many people realize they were attached to who someone might become, not who they repeatedly showed themselves to be. Emotionally unavailable people often speak the language of future change. I just need time. I'm working on myself. I'm not ready yet. These phrases are not inherently manipulative. Sometimes they are honest. But honesty about limitation does not equal readiness for partnership. You might think you are being supportive. You might believe love means standing beside someone while they heal. And sometimes that is true. Relationships require patience. But there is a difference between growing together and waiting alone. When you are attached to potential, your energy goes toward encouraging, understanding, and reassuring. You celebrate small improvements as if they are breakthroughs. You lower your needs to avoid overwhelming them. Gradually, you shrink. Sigmund Freud described how the ego seeks to resolve tension by clinging to narratives that reduce discomfort. If you admit that someone cannot meet you emotionally, it creates grief. So instead, the mind chooses a softer story. They just need more time. Time feels less painful than rejection. Another psychological layer at play is cognitive dissonance, the discomfort that arises when reality conflicts with belief. You believe they care deeply, but their actions are inconsistent. To reduce the discomfort, you reinterpret their behavior in ways that preserve your belief. They're just stressed. They've been hurt before. They're scared of losing me. These explanations may hold pieces of truth, but if the pattern remains unchanged, the explanation becomes a shield protecting your attachment. Elaine de Botton once observed that we are drawn not to partners who treat us best, but to those who feel most familiar. If emotional unpredictability once defined love in your early life, then potential feels romantic. Stability feels dull. You feel alive when there is something to win. But love is not meant to be won. It is meant to be reciprocated. There is also a quiet savior complex that can emerge. You believe that your patience, your empathy, your understanding will finally help them open up. If they change with you, it validates your worth. It proves that your love is powerful enough. But healing cannot be forced by devotion. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche wrote, "He who fights with monsters should look to it that he himself does not become a monster." When you fight endlessly for someone's emotional availability, you risk abandoning your own. You become hyper-focused on their growth while neglecting your own unmet needs. Loving potential keeps you suspended between reality and fantasy. Reality says, this is how they are today. Fantasy says, but imagine who they could be tomorrow. And tomorrow becomes your emotional anchor. The danger is not hope itself. Hope can be beautiful. The danger is when hope replaces evidence. When someone shows you consistently who they are, believe that pattern more than the promise of transformation. Psychologist Harriet Lerner wrote, "We can't change anyone. We can only change ourselves and how we respond." Staying attached to potential often delays this truth. You wait for them to transform instead of deciding what you are willing to accept. Ask yourself gently, if they stayed exactly as they are now, would this relationship nourish me? Not if they healed, not if they committed fully, not if they became more expressive, but as they are. That question removes fantasy and reveals reality. Sometimes the heartbreak is not losing them, it's grieving the future you imagined, the vacations you pictured, the late-night conversations that never fully happened, the version of them who finally said, "I choose you" without hesitation. Grieving potential is complicated because it feels invisible. Others might not understand. They might say, "It wasn't even that serious." But to you, it was serious in imagination. It was serious in hope. And hope attaches deeply. But love that lives mostly in imagination cannot sustain you in reality. There is a quiet strength in recognizing when you are loving someone's possibilities more than their presence. Because presence is what builds partnership, not potential.
Not someday, not almost, just presence.
Sometimes it is not the person you are addicted to. It is the feeling. The rush when they finally text back, the relief when they show affection, the sudden warmth after days of distance. Your body does not measure love the way your mind does. It measures safety, threat, and reward. And when someone is emotionally inconsistent, your nervous system enters a cycle that can feel intoxicating. Uncertainty creates activation. Activation releases stress hormones like cortisol. Relief releases dopamine. And that combination can wire attachment very deeply. Dr. Helen Fisher, a biological anthropologist who studied romantic love, explained that unpredictable reward in relationships increases dopamine activity in the brain. The same neural pathways involved in addiction are activated during romantic longing. When affection is inconsistent, the brain works harder, not less. So when someone pulls away, your system does not detach. It intensifies. You think about them more. You crave reassurance more. You interpret small gestures as significant victories. This is not weakness. It is biology. Stephen Porges, the founder of polyvagal theory, describes how the nervous system constantly scans for cues of safety or danger. When someone oscillates between closeness and withdrawal, your system stays alert. You are never fully settled. You are monitoring tone, timing, energy shifts. Hypervigilance can feel like passion, but it is actually survival energy. If you grew up in an environment where emotional connection was unpredictable, your nervous system may associate love with activation. Calm may feel unfamiliar. Stability may feel flat. You might meet someone secure and kind and feel nothing dramatic. No fireworks, no obsession, just steadiness. And steadiness can feel like boredom if your body is accustomed to chaos. The philosopher Blaise Pascal once wrote, "All of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone." Stillness can be uncomfortable. Emotional calm can feel like emptiness if your identity has been shaped around emotional pursuit. In anxious avoidant dynamics, this becomes amplified. The avoidant partner withdraws when intimacy increases. The anxious partner pursues when distance appears. The more one pulls back, the more the other leans forward. The push creates tension. The tension creates chemical activation. The reunion creates relief. Relief feels like love, but relief from anxiety is not the same as secure connection. Sigmund Freud's idea of repetition compulsion also echoes here. We unconsciously recreate familiar emotional environments, not because they are good for us, but because they are known. The nervous system prefers predictable chaos over unfamiliar peace. If love once felt like chasing approval, then chasing feels romantic. If affection once felt earned, then earning feels meaningful. You may even describe the relationship as intense, electric, passionate. And it may be intense, but intensity is not always intimacy. Intimacy requires safety. Safety allows vulnerability without fear of abandonment. When you are bonded through nervous system activation, vulnerability feels risky. You may hold back parts of yourself. You may present a polished version, fearing that too much honesty will push them further away. The philosopher Erich Fromm wrote, "Love is not a feeling, it is a practice." Practice requires consistency, effort, mutuality. Nervous system addiction, however, thrives on unpredictability. You feel most alive when they almost leave. You feel most connected when they return. And so your body begins to associate anxiety with attachment. The highs feel euphoric because the lows were painful. But stable love does not rely on dramatic contrast to feel meaningful. It feels calm, sometimes almost quiet. And quiet can be disorienting if your system equates drama with depth. There is also an identity layer to this addiction. If you have long defined yourself as the one who waits, hopes, fixes, or proves, stepping into calm, mutual love requires redefining who you are. You are no longer the rescuer, no longer the pursuer, no longer the emotional detective. You are simply present. And presence without chaos can feel unfamiliar. Carl Jung wrote, "Neurosis is always a substitute for legitimate suffering." Sometimes clinging to chaotic love is easier than confronting the finality of release. So you stay in the loop. Withdrawal, pursuit, relief, repeat. You tell yourself the connection is rare, that you have never felt something this strong. And that may be true, but strength of feeling does not equal health of bond. Ask your body gently, do I feel regulated around them? Can I breathe deeply in their presence? Or do I feel like I'm constantly bracing for distance? Secure attachment feels like exhaling. It feels predictable in the best way. It feels safe enough that your nervous system does not need to perform or prove. The challenge is that healing often feels less exciting than chaos. When you begin to move toward emotionally available people, your system may initially interpret calm as lack of chemistry. There is no adrenaline spike, no dramatic uncertainty, just steadiness. But steadiness builds trust. Trust builds intimacy, and intimacy builds sustainable love. The goal is not to eliminate attraction, it is to retrain what feels attractive. When you understand that your attachment may be wired through nervous system activation, you stop romanticizing anxiety. You begin distinguishing between butterflies and warning signals. Butterflies can be excitement, or they can be fear. The difference is revealed over time. If connection consistently brings calm clarity, it is likely grounded in safety. If connection consistently brings confusion and emotional turbulence, it may be grounded in activation. Awareness does not instantly rewire your system, but it creates space. Space between impulse and choice. You may still feel drawn to intensity, but now you understand why. And understanding reduces illusion. Love is not meant to keep your nervous system in fight or flight. It is meant to help it rest. When your body can finally rest in someone's presence, that is not boring. That is healing. At some point, the question changes. It stops being, how do I make this work? And becomes, what am I actually fighting for? When you love someone emotionally unavailable, fighting can feel noble, loyal, strong. You tell yourself that real love requires endurance, that walking away means giving up too easily. But endurance is not the same as mutual effort. Before deciding whether to fight, pause. Ask yourself gently, is this a shared struggle or a solitary one? Psychologist Harriet Lerner wrote, "You can't change anyone else. You can only change yourself and your responses." Fighting for a relationship only makes sense when both people are fighting for it. If you are the only one adjusting, explaining, waiting, softening your needs, then you are not fighting for love. You are fighting against reality. And reality does not bend because you are sincere. Sometimes what feels like love is actually the fear of repeating an old wound. If you walk away, you may feel like you have failed again, like you were not enough again, so you stay longer than you should. Carl Jung said, "What you resist not only persists, but will grow in size." If you resist the truth that someone cannot meet you emotionally, your attachment may intensify. The more unavailable they become, the more determined you feel to prove your worth. But love is not proven through exhaustion. It is revealed through reciprocity. There is a difference between working through conflict and chasing consistency. All relationships require effort. Misunderstandings happen, people have flaws, growth takes time. But growth requires willingness. If someone acknowledges their emotional limitations and actively works on them, that is different from someone who simply explains them. Awareness without action does not create safety. Friedrich Nietzsche wrote, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." Many people stay in painful relationships because they believe in a powerful why. The imagined future, the hope of transformation, the belief that this struggle will eventually pay off. But hope is only healthy when it is supported by evidence. Ask yourself clearly, has anything meaningfully changed? Not promises, not words spoken during emotional peaks. Patterns. Have patterns shifted? Psychologist John Gottman, known for his research on relationships, emphasizes that stable partnerships are built on consistent small bids for connection being acknowledged. Emotional availability is not dramatic, it is steady. It is shown in daily responsiveness. If you are constantly wondering where you stand, that is information. Confusion is often clarity trying to surface. You may also need to ask a harder question. Am I fighting for them or for the feeling of being chosen? When someone inconsistent finally shows affection, it can feel like victory, like you won something rare. But if love feels like winning approval, it may be activating an old script. Alain de Botton observed that we often seek partners who mirror the emotional climate of our childhood, even if that climate included unpredictability. Familiarity can disguise itself as destiny. So when you feel the urge to fight harder, look deeper. Is this relationship asking you to grow or asking you to shrink? Are you becoming more secure or more anxious? Are you expressing yourself freely or editing your needs to keep the peace? Awareness is not about blaming them. Emotionally unavailable people are often protecting their own wounds. They may not intend harm. They may genuinely care within their capacity. But capacity matters. Compassion does not require self-sacrifice. The philosopher Erich Fromm wrote, "Love is an act of will, both an intention and an action." If love is only visible when you are close to leaving, if effort appears only when distance threatens them, that is reaction, not intention. Sustainable love is proactive. It does not wait for crisis to show care. There are moments when fighting is healthy, when both partners acknowledge difficulties and commit to change, when conversations are uncomfortable but honest, when accountability replaces defensiveness. In those cases, staying can be growth. But if you are alone in reflection, alone in effort, alone in emotional labor, then staying may not be loyalty. It may be fear. Fear of starting over. Fear of being alone. Fear that calm love will not feel as intense. Stephen Porges' polyvagal theory reminds us that safety allows the nervous system to relax into connection. If your body feels constantly tense, scanning, bracing, that is data. Your nervous system does not lie easily. Love should not feel like perpetual survival. It should feel like rest. The deepest shift happens when you stop asking, "How do I make them available?" and begin asking, "Why does unavailability feel familiar to me?" That question changes everything. Because if this pattern feels familiar, it likely did not begin here. Awareness breaks repetition. Without awareness, you may leave this person and find another with the same emotional rhythm, different face, same dynamic. The goal is not just to exit, it is to understand. When you truly see the pattern, the attachment loosens, not because you force yourself to detach, but because illusion loses power in the presence of clarity. You realize you are not fighting for love. You are fighting to finally feel chosen without conditions. But secure love does not make you audition. It meets you halfway. So, should you fight? Fight for honesty. Fight for mutuality. Fight for growth that includes you. But do not fight to convince someone to care. Do not fight to decode mixed signals. Do not fight for crumbs and call them commitment. Sometimes, the strongest act of love is not staying. It is seeing clearly and choosing yourself without anger, without drama, without revenge, just clarity. Because awareness is not loud, it is quiet. And once you truly see, you no longer need to fight. You simply decide.